Hello, I'm Julie from the Spellbound Bead Company, and today I'm going to show you how to make a lovely lily flower using a very simple wire working technique. The lily flower is made from 5 identical petals. Here I've got a plan of petal number 1. As you can see, there are 12 rows, and the rows are shaded into colour A and colour B. These represent 2 seed beads. If I move that aside, you can see the 2 seed bead colours I've chosen. I've chosen black and I've chosen white, so it's easy for you to see, and also because it makes an elegant flower. Now, to make and to support the petal, I'm going to need some wire. Here I've got 1/2 metre of 0.315mm soft wire. It's soft and flexible, and being soft, it means I can do lots of work on it, so that's lots of twisting or binding without it becoming brittle and breaking. So I've got about 50 centimetres to make my petal. To help me to make the petal, I've also got an extra little bit of wire, around about 25 centimetres, same diameter, and I've got a bit of sticky tape. This is going to help me to anchor the first row, so I've got something to work against as I make my weave. Now, if I look at my plan again, I can see row number 1 is 1 A bead. Now, on my petal, I'm going to use black as A, so I'm going to put that 1 A bead into the middle of my spare length of wire. It's right in the middle. I'm going to give it a little twist just to hold it in the middle so it can't run away. I'm then going to get my sticky tape, and I'm going to use that to stick the other end of the wire to my table. So that's just out of shot, actually onto the table, not onto my bead mat, because the bead mat won't hold the sticky tape. It'll just pull off too easily. So now I've got my 50 centimetre length of wire that I'm actually going to be doing the weaving with. I'm going to thread that through the same A bead, just that 1 A bead, and I'm going to pull the wire through until it's in the middle of my long length of wire. Now, if we look at our plan, we can see we've got bead number 1, or row 1, onto the middle of my wire. Now, row number 2 is 2 A beads. So this is my long wire that I'm working with. Both ends are approximately the same distance from my A bead, the first row A bead. I'm going to put 2 A beads on for my second row. I'm putting them on, holding them about 3 to 4 centimetres from the end of my wire. I'm then going to take the other end of the wire and pass it in the opposite direction through those 2 A beads. And you can see it makes an X shape. It might be easier to see if I bring up the white paper behind. There you can see it's an X shape, and the 2 ends of the wire are sticking out in opposite directions. I'm now going to pull that by pulling equally on both ends of the wire, and I'm going to pull it down to that first bead I put on for row number 1. As you can see, it's made a triangle, and the holes in my new row, those 2 A beads, the holes in those 2 beads form a straight line, and that line is parallel to the hole in the first row. Right, let's have a little look. Row number 3 is 1A, 2B, 1A. So it's 1A, which is black, 2B, and 1A. I'm I'm going to again hold them a short distance from one end of the wire, and the other end I'm going to make sure it's nice and straight so I can thread it through those 4 seed beads. Again, it's gone in the opposite direction, so it's made an X shape. I'll show you again with the white paper. And I'm going to pull on both ends so they come down to the previous row, and you can see it's sitting parallel to the previous row, and the middle 2 beads of the row are lining up with the 2 beads of the previous row. That's row number 3 complete. Let's straighten the end of the wire so it's easy to put the beads on, and check the pattern. So that's 1A, 4B and 1A for this row. Here we go, 1A, 4B and 1A. Let's straighten the other end of the wire and push it through those 6 beads we've just put on. Again, the X shape, and I'm going to pull to bring it down to the previous row so it's parallel. Now you can see that we're starting to make a triangle. In fact, it's the triangular point at the tip of the petal. Now the next row will be 1A, 5B and 1A. So the A beads are forming the edge and the B beads are forming the middle of the petal pattern. Here we go, that's through. That's our X shape. There's my 2 ends, one out either side, and I'm going to pull it down so it's parallel with the previous rows. And as you can see, I'm just flattening it with my thumb and forefinger to keep it neat. Right, next row is 1A, 6 of these B beads, and an A bead for the other end. Pass the other side of the wire through those, and it's going to be 8 beads now, so you need to concentrate a bit harder. Make sure it goes through all the beads, you don't miss any, and pull that through. There we go, you can see that's the new row pulling up, and the triangle starting to grow quite quickly. And we need another row the same, so it's a 1 of the A's and 6 of the B's. So that's 4, 5, 6 and an A. Now these 2 rows, the previous row and this row, are the longest rows, so this is the widest part of the petal. Make sure I've got, that's it, that's both ends that I can pull on. That's it. Now I'm going to have a look at the pattern again. Now I've just done rows 6 and 7, which is 1, 6, 1, 1A, 6B, 1A. So it's the same for 6, the same for 7. Now row 8 is 1A, 2B, 1A, 2B, 1A. So 1A, 2B, 1A, 2B, 1A. And this is introducing the A bead into the middle of the pattern, and the pattern starts to change here just so that we can emphasize the colour as we get towards the inner part of the petal. So there's our next row on, and now we've got 1A, 1B, 2A, 1B, 1A. So it's 1B, sorry, 1A, 1B, 2A, 1B, 1A. Now obviously you can put a different pattern in if you want to. You can make a bigger petal, you can make a wider petal by making the rows longer. And you can do whatever you like. It's such a versatile technique. And what you make is surprisingly robust because you're using the wire double through all the rows. It builds up to be quite a substantial petal. So that was 3A for that row, and I want 2A for the next. You can see we're coming down narrower quite quickly now, and these narrower rows, you need to make sure that they're pulling up central to the petal itself. There is a tendency for them to slide to one end or the other, so just make sure that it's pulling up into the right place. And that's the last one. That's 1A for the last row. If I bring the pattern in again, you can see where there's purple indicated on there. We've got white and the black is the same. Right, now we can release the petal. So I'm going to undo my sticky tape, which means that this wire can then be removed. That was the spare bit of wire. And now we've got our petal almost finished. At the moment it's a little bit flat, so I want to put a little bit of a curve into it, as petals in general are not absolutely flat, and that already looks more lively. And I'm going to twist the two sides of the wire that we've been weaving with. I'm going to twist them together for about 1 centimetre. So here we are, the pinch about 1 centimetre down, and I'm going to twist to the pinch. And that's my petal complete. I'm going to move the B beads out of the way, move the A bead slightly to one side, and I'm going to bring in another 4 petals that I've already prepared. 4 petals. So with the one we've just made, that's 5 petals. Let's bring them together and see what it's looking like. If I do that, you can see our flower is definitely starting to get there. What it is missing though are some stamens for the centre. We're going to make those with an extra piece of wire. The same 0.3mm wire, and I'm cutting about 40 centimetres, and I'm going to make the stamens with these little A beads. So I'm going to put on 3 A beads, and I'm going to bring them to the middle of the wire, so both ends are the same length. I'm going to pinch immediately against those little black beads and just twist once, just to hold them in that nice little cluster. I'm then going to come out to about 1.5 centimetres with my pinch, and I'm going to twist to the pinch. So I'm just turning those 3 little beads over and over to make this rope, and if you pinch nice and firmly, the twist won't go any further. So that's the first stamen. Now I'm making them with the same seed beads, but you might like to make them with sparkly beads, perhaps crystals or little diamante stones with holes in. Now I've put 3 more beads on to one side of the wire, and those 3 beads are going to make the second stamen. Now to make the second stamen the same length as the first, I make a loop that's approximately the same height as the first stamen with the 3 beads at the end. I then pinch to get those and twist to get those little 3 beads in a group at the end, and I'm going to move the pinch down to the base of the previous stamen and twist to the pinch. And there we go. Now I want one more stamen because odd numbers are always better than even. And we're going to do the same again. So 3 little seed beads, make the loop the same length as the previous twists. So the loop is pinched off at the base of the previous 2 just so I can check the length. I'm going to just twist those 3 off at the top to start with, because otherwise they don't tend to tighten up very well, and then move the pinch down to the base of the previous twists, and there we go, 3 stamens the same length. Now to introduce them into the flower I need a little bit of twist at the bottom, so I'm going to bring both sides of the wire together and twist for about 1 centimetre, no more. So there's my stamens. Now we can think about assembling the flower. I'm going to bring my 5 petals together, straighten out the stems, and I want them all to be the same length from where I'm going to pinch them together. So you can see that's about 1/2 centimetre, and that one is the same length, and that one is the same length. So they're all approximately 1/2 centimetre away from where I'm going to pinch them together. I'm going to bring the stamen in. I'm going to position that a tiny bit lower, but when I look at that I can see it's about the right length for the stamens with the petals. And I'm going to bring everything together in a bunch, and I'm going to twist. I'm going to twist downwards away from the petals. I don't want to twist right up to the base of the petals because then they'll all be jammed in too closely together. I'm going to separate out the petals around the stamens. As you can see, that little bit of give at the bottom of the petals allows me to form the throat of the flower. And there we have it, a little lily flower. Now in the next video I'm going to show you how to assemble the lily flower you've made into a hair comb. But equally you might want to put it into a little bouquet, into a corsage, or just have it on your desk as something pretty. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.